Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan. I'm the founder of the Rocks and Stocks News website. Recently, when they were about 20% lower than they are right now, I started following Labrador Gold Lab. And the reason that I did is that they have the adjoining property to Newfound Gold. And secondly, I saw that their trading pattern was sort of in lockstep with Newfound Gold. And I thought that there was a good chance that if Newfound Gold gets active and moving up, these guys will as well. So I started featuring both companies when they're significantly cheaper than they are now. And they've come back quite nicely. But you know, closeology doesn't mean much to me unless they've got a good story to go with that. And Labrador definitely does. We're going to talk about that with Roger Moss, the CEO of the company. Thank you very much for joining me today, Roger.
Oh, you're welcome, Alan. It's always good to tell the Lab Gold story. And as you said, I think we have a pretty good one.
Yeah, so let's start with some of the recent news. One was that you found a 338 gram per ton gold sample on a new discovery at your Golden Glove. You've also had high grade at your Big Vein, and you recently got some drill permits at your on the Appleton Fault, which has got a lot of people excited these days, that Appleton Fault. So let's start unpacking some of that news, Roger.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we could certainly do that. Perhaps one of the things, you know, just to go back a little bit, the Appleton Fault was really what made me want to go and acquire the Kingsway property. And we put that together last March of 2020. And from what I saw even then, after Newfound Gold had announced their initial discovery, the Appleton Fault stood out to me as being something that could be quite important in the district. And that was before the Appleton Fault was at the tip of everybody's tongue. And it's
household name now.
Yeah, it really is. But you know, and that's a testament to the work that Newfound Gold has done down at Queensway, and I think in a smaller part, so some of the work that we've done at Kingsway, which you pointed out. But yeah, I really believe that the Appleton Fault is shaping up to be quite a productive. It's already prospective, but I think it's going to be quite a productive fault in terms of gold mineralization. And you know, I should add, before we dive into the Appleton Fault and our occurrences itself, it's not the only fault on the island, and it does get a lot of attention. But you know, there are other faults that companies are working along and getting very good results. So,
well, one of those is a little further to the west, is the Valentine Lake fault, and then you've also got that Dog Bay. I want to get into that because there's a interesting anomaly. It seems to be offset. Instead of going directly vertical or horizontal to, or parallel to the Appleton Fault, it has a bit of a jog in it, and it looks like there's a good anomaly there. So yeah, great. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because that's important. These deep-seated faults are perfect conduits for these orogenic kind of deposits. They go very deep, and you know, Kirkland Lake got famous because of their Fosterville mine, and the Swan Zone specifically turned into be a cash cow. And it looks like those faults out in Newfoundland have that same potential. I had a good geologist friend that was from back there, and I asked him, what he thought about Newfoundland. This was probably 20 years ago. And he said, well, there's lots of high grade gold, but it doesn't seem to hang together. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, these orogenic deposits have complex faulting and they're not easy to find. And, you know, if you're a junior exploration, you get a couple sniffs. A lot of times in the past, they didn't really care about sniffs, but that's all changed now. So let's talk more about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, yeah, I think in the past, especially for junior mining companies, you know, the way that we've tackled Big Vein and our drilling at Big Vein, and certainly the way that Newfound Gold has tackled their occurrences down to the south, you've got to have a pretty good treasury to be able to drill these things off and figure out what's happening. Someone asked me the other day, so what have you learned since you started drilling at Big Vein? And my answer is basically, it's not easy, and we're still learning. It is complex. There are structures. There are different lithologies. I mean, there's, you know, the main lithology is a pretty mundane gray shale, but within that there are other lithologies that seem to be closer associated with the gold mineralization. So there's a lot going on, and I think, you know, if you were to drill that at a 50-meter spacing, even 25-meter spacing, you would probably walk away from it, especially if you only did, say, a 2,000-meter drill program. I mean, we didn't, if we had done a 2,000-meter drill program, we wouldn't have found anything at Big Vein. At least nothing to the extent that we have right now. So we're very fortunate in being cashed up with like $33 million in the bank right now. And so that's a lot, gives us a lot of comfort to be able to do the kind of close-based drilling, not only to continue to get these kinds of grades, but to figure out where they're actually going. And I think we're actually doing that. We're doing that now. If we're figuring it out, but it's still it's complicated, and it's going to take a lot of drilling to really.
But in reality, Roger, that complexity is what you're looking for. It's not a negative. You know, you look at the Fosterville, and I mean, that's just got lots of structural complexity to it. And that's why it was a mine for 20 years before they, you know, found the Swan Zone. So complexity in this case is good, but you got to have the treasury to be able to figure out that complexity. And you guys definitely have that.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, you know, and anybody that's worked in orogenic gold systems are going to tell you that they're complex. So and for good reason. I mean, you know, when you're thinking about this gold coming up from wherever the source is in the deep crust or the mantle, and coming along these faults, major crestal scale faults, bring it up to the upper crust, and then spreading out there. I mean, it's you know, there's a lot going on to focus these gold-bearing fluids into one place and precipitate the gold out of it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Complexity is not something to back away from, and there are lots of traps, whether structural or lithological, that can occur in these areas to concentrate the gold. And as you were saying earlier, you know, we've got two major finds, I guess, at one at Big Vein, which is we found about a year ago now, with some visible gold in quartz vein boulders, and that was really the start of the Big Vein part of the story. And then more recently with the prospecting, the discovery at Golden Glove. And you know, I think this is another thing that you know, is really interesting when you're talking about working in Newfoundland. And Newfoundland is part of Canada, and it's a first world country. And when you can walk along and make two discoveries, as we have in the past year, at surface in outcrop of visible gold, if you talk to many people, this doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, there are all those outcropping things are supposed to have already been found.
Yeah, so I think in Newfoundland we're seeing a rebirth here, and you know, I'm not going to be surprised if we see many more. And you know, I think it's a testament to our team that we've got where we are. And I will point out that both Golden Glove and Big Vein are new discoveries. They weren't known before, so we're not looking at known occurrences or anything like that.
Well, that Golden Glove target really stood out to me, especially because it's right beside the claim border with Newfound, and they're drilling fairly close to that, if my memory serves me correct. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how close they're drilling there now. But what was interesting to me is that we announced the discovery of that of the Golden Glove, and a couple of days later, Newfound Gold announced the discovery of Big Dave, which was I think it was a discovery of visible gold in quartz vein boulders on the other side of the boundary.
That's it, yeah.
And so, you know, it's to me, it just confirms again that, you know, if you're close to the Appleton Fault, good things can happen. And we're very fortunate in that, you know, from the boundary with Newfound Gold, where Golden Glove occurs, up to the north, to our northern boundary of our licenses, that covers about 12-kilometer strike length of the Appleton Fault. So we've got.
So yeah, it's not just perspective on either side, but then a long strike, you're getting all these gold occurrences. And so the theory is that, you know, it's like a string of pearls or whatever you want to use. I think I heard you use that before, but it's becoming reality. That's not just stock promotion or hopium.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You know, I think Eric refers to the gold occurrences as jewelry boxes. I prefer a string of pearls just because, you know, the Appleton Fault in my mind is the string, and with every new discovery, we're adding another pearl to the string, and it's really, you know, it's working out so far. And we do have a lot more ground to test, a lot more, and with the geochemical database that we have, it's you know, if you look at a presentation, I basically lay out the strategy in the presentation of what we're looking for, and that's basically first structure and lithology, cross-cutting structures, and then laying on top of that the anomalous geochemistry. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be gold. Arsenic and antimony are good too. They're good pathfinders. In fact, we use arsenic and antimony in the core shack with our XRF, portable
You don't have to
XRF
wait
machine.
so long for the assays to actually come in. You've got some pathfinders there that will help lead you.
Yeah. So, and you know, without that, and with the long lead time for the assays, you know, we'd be drilling blind. So we do have some information that can keep us on the straight and narrow while we're waiting for those drill results to come in. And so all of these things together, I think, are helping us being able to execute our exploration program really well. And I think the success that we've had in the past, we've only been doing this for 18 months. It's hard to believe, but I think the success that we've had is, you know, it's testament to both the strategy and the team doing the work on the ground.
Well, maybe you can put your string of pearls and and Eric's jewelry boxes together, because it seems to me like that's the structure. You look for the pearls, and then you get down and look for the jewelry boxes of potential cash cows like the Swan Zone at Fosterville.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I think, we're both Newfound and us are working really hard at developing these properties. And I think there's going to be, I have no doubt there's going to be more discoveries made along there, and both on their side and our side. I hope that some of the companies working elsewhere on the island are going to also see new discoveries, because we're looking at an entire district here that seems to be very well endowed with gold mineralization. And my experience in just the short time that I've been on the island is that there's no reason why we're not going to see a lot more discoveries in the next little while. And really I think that's partly because of the amount of time and effort that's going into exploring the area now. I mean, some companies are exploring ground that's never been really explored before, and who knows what they're going to come up with. It's
well, we definitely know that you've got the plumbing system there, and the juices are extreme high grade. And as you said, they they come to surface in certain cases. So, that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like I said, other faults could be similarly well endowed. And companies are still looking at them. But from where we are, you mentioned the Dog Bay line. We haven't even looked at that in any significant way. We've done a little bit of prospecting and sampling along it, and we got some interesting results. But we just don't have the manpower at this point to be able to follow that up with the kind of work that we need to do. And there's even some work that we did last year that we haven't yet had time to go back to, that showed promise. And it's just we're really focused now on the Appleton Fault, because I think that's where we've shown we can find more gold occurrences. We have lots of anomalous geochemistry, and that's where I think the next pulls on a string are going to come from. It's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, you follow that, you prospect it, and you upgrade the targets and you drill them. And
yeah, well, it's been a pretty good recipe for success so far.
Ultimately, the drill is not going to lie. So you also got to have a good drilling strategy, though. You can't just drill totally willy-nilly. But
yeah, because you could be 2 meters off, and you've walked over a tremendous discovery.
Well, you know what excites me right now is, Big Vein is looking pretty good. And earlier this week we announced that we're moving one of the rigs from Big Vein over to this new area that I want to test where the pristine gold grains are. And
where is that, Roger?
It's just under a kilometer to the northeast of Big Vein. And the reason this is interesting, well, there are several reasons, but one, we got these till results back, and I think there were 311 gold grains in one sample and 165 in the other.
Are they rounded, or are they pristine?
Oh, they're pristine. So, and people didn't really get the significance of this. Now,
I do, because I spent a lot of my career in diamonds, and you use those indicator minerals and how rounded they are, or angular, to lead you back to where they came from. So when I hear pristine gold grains, I know that that's in close proximity to where they came from.
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't make a very good job of getting that point across. And so if you look at, so on the Kingsway prop, well, in that district, the ice direction is pretty much from southwest and northeast, relatively parallel to the stratigraphy.
Or
And
this-
and so gold grains in till samples could potentially come from Big Vein because that would be up ice. But when we talked to the guys that did the that did the concentrating of the grains and the
Was that the guys at ODM?
yes, it was.
Yeah,
And-
well, they have I used them before when I was doing diamond exploration, and they're very good.
Oh, I think they're probably the leading experts in this kind of these kinds of analyses. And when they sent me the report on the gold grains, they said, well, you know, these are pristine. And I think in our presentation we have photo of the gold grains, and you can see. I mean, not only are they not rounded, they still have little pointy edges to it, and they basically say this didn't come far. This is probably within 200 meters, 250 meters from the source. So, but Big Vein is 800 meters up ice. So I think we can write on Big Vein as a source and look for something between Big Vein and those samples, and that's where the drill is moving.
If it was coming from 800 meters away, they would be a lot more rounded.
Exactly. So this is going to be the next pearl on the string, is when we can drill into the source of those gold grains in those till samples. And this is, you know, it's like the gift that keeps on giving, the Appleton Fault Zone. I mean, it's just you know, I think we're really fortunate to be working along there and to really have all the information that we have, to have the funds that we have to do the exploration that we need to do, and to have a great team that that can carry out that work. And
you're doing good science. I mean, you're getting good people involved to do the work that, you know, leads you to understand, you know, that something like that in diamonds, if they're close to close to the source, they'll also have reaction rims, chelophytic rims around them. And, you know, if you've got an angular grain with some chelophytic rim on it, you know you're really close to the source. And that's the same thing you're going to see with the gold grains. If they're nice and pristine and, you know, some good angling to them and no rounding, that's got to be from a close source. Like,
oh, absolutely. And these weren't just 1 or 2 grains. These were like 90% of the grains were pristine. So,
well, that's another thing we look for in diamonds, is not only the pristine, well, the indicator minerals with an angular. If you get a lot of them, you know, again, it's a good indicator that you're close to source.
yeah.
So you're getting all the signals that I look for in diamonds on the gold front.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to the start of drilling those holes, and you know, it'll probably take a few holes before we find anything, but at least we know we're going to be in the right area. And we might even have to call it the pristine target.
Pristine target. I like that golden gloves because when I was younger, I boxed. So I was a boxer. So I like that golden glove. Why did you give it that name?
Well, it's funny you ask, because whenever we name these things, usually it's the team that comes up with the names. And Golden Glove was named by the prospectors that found it. And there were 2 of them out there banging on the rocks, and putting the samples in the sample bag, and one of the prospectors likes to wear gloves while he's working out in the field, and so he was handling this stuff, and the other prospector said, your gloves, they're golden, because there were little bits of gold grains that was stuck onto his glove. So that was where the name came from, and it was, yeah, so a good story for sure.
Yeah, well, that's part of exploration too, so lots of those kind of stories are in major discoveries. So I like that Golden Glove name.
Yeah, no, I like that too. It was that's good. Yeah.
I'm looking at your presentation right now, and by the way, I always advise people to do their homework and go to their website, lab's website, labradorgold.com. And I'm looking at your map with the key structures on them. And I see something that is quite interesting in two parts of that Dog Bay line. One is that it looks like there's been some cross faulting there that displaced that Dog Bay line.
Right.
One of them is to the east of, or to the west of the Big Vein, and the other is to the west of the Kraken. And it looks like there might be a cross fault going through Appleton and that Dog Bay line. Am I off base there, or am I seeing things?
No, I think that's quite possible. We do have, I don't have the diagram in front of me, but I think I know the one you're referring to. And those are second order structures that some of them are pretty major faults in their own right. And they're the ones that are trending sort of northwest to southeast.
Exactly.
Cutting across, and you're right.
It looks like there might be something in the geophysics that's suggesting a pretty significant cross cut that goes through Appleton and all the way through Dog Bay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think you're right. Yeah, it definitely, and it does offset the Dog Bay line. One of those faults. I know the one you're referring to. But yeah, this is, again, it's another example of the complexity of the area. There's an area to the north, also along the Appleton fault zone, that you just have this bird's nest of cross structures crossing the Appleton fault zone, and so it's an area that last year we did some.
Are you talking about where, if you go to the north of the Dog Bay line from Kraken, it looks like there's two faults that kind of go into a Y. And then if you go back over to the Appleton fault, it looks like there's a cross-cutting feature that displaced the Appleton fault and also possibly continues to that Dog Bay line. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, right up in the near the top of that figure.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the figure now. I can see it. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a dog's breakfast in there, and it's
yeah, but these dogs' breakfasts are good because that's if you've got something that offsets that Appleton fault, that's a perfect preparation of the rock for the juices to get up there.
Yeah, well, it's another case of not having the time and the resources to get up there and follow it up. We have done some prospecting up there. There's not a lot of outcrop, but one of the things that we did do last year, which again we haven't followed up to any significant degree, was a CSAMT survey, was audio magnetotellurics. And what that showed, well, it showed two things in that area where we have this complex, all these complex structural intersections. One, that we had a very highly resistive zone, which could be, could reflect silicification, quartz veining, things like that. But we also had a huge chargeability zone that was subparallel to the trend of the Allan fault. So we haven't followed those up to any significant degree. Ideally, I think we now have a excuse me. I think we now have a drill permit, so we can actually get up there and drill those resistivity anomalies. So at some point in the next 10,000 meters, we'll probably get up there and test those anomalies. And that's probably about, I would guess, 7-8 kilometers north of Big Vein. So it's
that complex faulting there sticks out like a sore thumb. I can see it on the geophysics and your maps.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Another one that sticks out to me like a sore thumb is if you go to the almost directly west of Golden Glove, there's another Y or a fork in the road kind of structure, and it's also where that Appleton fault sort of bends out from going straight through the Keats, Lotto, Dome, and up into the north of your Big Vein. It seems to have a pretty good bend to it, and then there's a fork in the road.
Yeah, that's an interesting area too. We have been down there, and there is some anomalous soil geochemistry, but again, there's not much an outcrop down there, so we haven't really been able to sample any rocks in that area. But it's definitely worth looking at, probably with some trenching, something like that, prior to follow that up. And it's again, it's right on the boundary, so
that's always good. Well, and I like that it's also kind of a bend in the Appleton fault there, and that flexure point is also tends to be a good area for preparation of the rock. Like, for example, if you look at marathons, where that fault bends is where they found all the gold occurrences, and so it's a good sign that that whole bend is quite prospective, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, jogs and bends are always good. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And in fact, at Big Vein, the initial visible gold area is in a jog in Big Vein, and some of the maps show that it goes from sort of being a northeast trending.
Yeah, you can see it, and then it turns back sort of back in line with the Lotto and the Dome and all of those that Newfound Gold has. It kind of catches back up. It goes like this, and then it turns back up to the northeast.
Yeah, that's right. So it's there's lots of stuff going on, and we've had a bit of time to start figuring things out, and I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, well, you've been very kind with your time, and I kind of want to wrap it up here, but structure is important. Mineralization is obviously important. It looks like there's a lot of important discoveries on that deep-seated fault, and you guys have made discoveries with the Truth Machine. You've made discoveries in your sampling. You're getting a good handle on the complexity of the faulting. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before you guys have your own Keats and household name discoveries, because that's some hell of a prospective area to be looking at, Roger. Congratulations for what you and your team have done there. And I'm expecting a lot of great stuff ahead for you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. And we're certainly looking forward to carrying on, you know, the rate that we've been going at. And if we can do that, I think you're right. I think we'll have a few more discoveries in the next year.
Before I close things off, where do you stand with drill holes in the labs, and what's sort of pending that investors can look forward to, Roger?
Yeah, that the labs, as you know, their turnaround's pretty slow. The latest I got from the lab manager was about 2 months for your regular assays. I think, just off the top of my head, we've probably received and reported about 60% of the samples that we've submitted to the lab. And we submit samples on a regular basis. And some of those samples, that if they have visible gold in them, we will rush them. But even rush assays right now take about a month to turn around. So it's yeah, it's a long wait time, but I think we probably have about 30 to 40% samples in the lab that we haven't received assays for yet.
And then you're putting more samples in the lab as you're moving along, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just the drilling. I mean, we've got lots of rock samples in there too from all our prospecting that we've done this summer. We haven't got a lot of assays back for those yet, and some of those will be interesting for sure. And
what's the seasonality like? You can drill there pretty much year round?
Yeah, we plan to drill through the winter. We do expect that there'll be a couple of periods where we may have to shut down for a while, mostly during freeze up and the spring thaw, maybe a couple of weeks either time. So other than that, and Christmas break, we'll probably be drilling all the way through. So I think the news will continue to flow as it has been. Good.
Well, it sounds like your news flow will be for the foreseeable future, maybe out a year or two.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. I don't see any reason to cut it off.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to wrap things up. You can listen in, and we can have a little chat when I end the recording. So there you go, folks. Lab has, I think they're a leveraged way to get into the whole Newfound gold exposure. Their chart seems to follow that. But most importantly, and why I'm so excited about Lab, is that they've got tremendous potential to make their own set of Keats and the kind of discoveries that that Newfound Gold has made. All of this has to do with the structural stories. We talked about some of those cross-cutting features and the way the fault goes, and that they found in the truth machine and their sampling. They found gold. They found pristine gold grains, which suggests that the source is very close. So I think they've got a great future ahead of them. They've got the money in the bank to be able to go after this in a big way. And so those are the reasons I invited Roger on. And I think that we'll be talking a lot in the future. And as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to do your homework and speak with your financial advisors. And I always stress to people, do your homework. It helps you to be more informed investors. And these guys have a lot of great stuff on their website. Go check out Labrador Gold. I think you could probably even give Roger a call, and he and his team would be glad to talk to you. When you're on something exciting like this, you'd love to talk about it. So do your homework, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.